All right. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law.
Love is the law, love under will.
Welcome to Sekhet-Maat Oasis Qabalah 101 class.
I am Vanessa, Soror Lucy, and this is Audeo. And today, Sekhet-Maat is hosting Qabalah 101. We're doing the 25th Path of Samekh. Our classes are free, but you can do a suggested donation of $10 that will help us have further events and cover our operation costs. If you like this video or like our content, please like below, subscribe, and sign up for notifications because we have videos that come out every week and you don't want to miss it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, the whole like and subscribe is new, so we're just trying just better at that. So we'll share that responsibility. And now to the next disclaimer. Your mileage may vary as far as the way I pronounce things, the way I present things, the way you understand things may be different from the way I understand or present them. I am a student on the path. I am not a necessarily a master of anything, but I have a love for the Qabalah, and I have am an active member of Sekhet-Maat Oasis, and I'm both proud of that and willing to do my fair share of presenting things that I think help us all. And I believe learning the Qabalah, learning the Tree of Life only makes us better magicians and better communicators of the route of our angel. So with that being said, let's get going. All right, the 25th Path of Wisdom, Samekh. You'll notice it links with Tifereth to Yesod. That's on the Tree of Life. Basically, we're starting to go up the middle pillar. We've been on the extremities. We've been in the extreme areas. Now we're back into the central area. Doesn't mean it's any more comfortable, but it is going up the pillar of of balance, basically. But it's you may as well be walking a tightrope. It's easy to fall off either side, and you'll find that out as we go along today. As far as today, you're going to hear a lot of in the Golden Dawn tradition. There's a lot of resurrecting iconography, basically the fact of the dying God, and that's going to be interlaced through a lot of today. There's you'll hear more godly things in this presentation than normal, and not necessarily that we don't speak of God, but we don't directly in a manner of what we will today. So even though the God is, in my mind, everything, so at all times when we're talking about it, then is really what we're talking about. So, so this is from the Book of Tokens. It's funny, I saw Steve had one for sale today, but I was planning on reading it anyways. This is the meditation on Samekh. Even though it's from a different lineage, it still holds true in ours. I am the support of all that enter into existence. Upon me all depend, and I fail not. This have I declared unto thee in various ways, but listen now to my words again. I sustain creation in the midst of a perpetual ebb and flow. Therefore do I assume the appearance of a refiner's fire, forever purging out the dross of forms outworn. This is mine aspect of severity, and of this it is written, Tetragrammaton Elohim is a devouring fire. Thus am I as one who testeth gold in a furnace, and this aspect of my being presenteth to the unrighteous a face of wrath. Yet by the purgation of fire do I uphold and sustain thee in every moment of thy life. Behold, I am he who trieth thee with many subtle tests, Wise art thou if thou knowest that, or the subtle serpent of temptation is in truth the anointed one who bringeth thee to liberation. I am he who established the time of the decree, who declareth the term of the days of Adam. The fullness of those days shall see the strengthening of thy weakness, O Israel, and in the renewal of thy powers shall be made manifest the plenitude of my great name in the abode of wisdom. For when thou hast been tried as by fire, the gold of thy beauty shall be purged of all dross, and the glory of the heavenly sun shall all men behold. Then shall the vision of thy Lord be granted unto thee, and seeing him shalt thou behold the shining one, who is thine own true self. In the fullness of the blessed vision shalt thou be restored, and as a young lion trampleth upon his prey, so shalt thou conquer all the phantoms of delusion. Lo, in that day shall the light that is bind fast every hideous shape of darkness, and all thy habitations shall be blessed by the white brilliance which descendeth from the crown. And that was from Paul Foster Case. Great meditations on tarot and the Holy Qabalah in general. Can't recommend their work for learning about the tree of life. It's I think it's second to none. They have a correspondence course. It's a great way to get a better understanding of both the tree of life, alchemy, and astrology, and a bunch of things. So if you have never heard of them, check them out. I would recommend them as well, along with us. So the path of wisdom is, we'll get to that. It's the consciousness of probation or trial. Simply put, Samekh means a prop or a support. A lot of times Samekh is a symbol or a way of representing our holy guardian angel. If you think of something that supports us, something that gives us that support literally all throughout our life, even though we don't know it. And like I said, it was going to be kind of like godly today, or Christian, like kind of a lot of themes of Christianity. One of the, there's a poem that is common in, I don't know, it's just called Footprints, and it talks about walking through a desert and struggling through all of these things, and turning around and looking, and there's only one set of footprints, and the guy was basically complaining, hey, I thought I could count on you, and his holy guardian angel is the way I am presenting this, turned around and said, look, this is when I was carrying you. You weren't alone. I was with you the whole time. I think that's a really good example of my understanding of my holy guardian angel and my relationship to that being. I'm developing that connection. I'm striving towards that communication. And this is one of the very clear ways in how we do that, is learning to communicate in the manner that we are. So next slide, please. Thank you. Some of the attributions that we have is a centaur, and it's a mighty stylish centaur, if I do say so myself. Or a horse dog. I didn't find a picture, or we didn't find a picture of a horse, half horse, half dog. We did find the centaur, which is half man, half horse. Pegasus is another one of the legendary beings. Plants is rush and pimpernel. Pimpernel is down on the right-hand section of the slide. The lineal figure is a rose, and that would be a rose that has 5 courses, 5 petals around within 5. So it's a 5x5 rose, as opposed to the 7x7 rose that we got to check out in Netsock. Yep. The incense is called a lingen aloes, and apparently it's very light and airy. I've never smelled it. I'm not certain, but apparently it is associated with the moon. And if you notice where we're coming from Yesod, the sphere of the moon, and we're going up towards the sphere of the sun, Tifereth. So you have silver and gold, you have the sun and the moon, and that which joins it, or that which binds it together, is temperance, or the art card. Let's see, disease that can be associated with it is apoplexy, and I believe that is a blood disease, and thrombosis, and I believe that's obviously, it's an inflammation disease, inflammatory disease, sorry. Okay. The divine name is Ale, Aleph Lamed. The 12 banner, or the permutation of Yod He Vav He. Each one of the single letters represents a zodiac sign. And today we are Sagittarius, representing Sagittarius with the art card and with the Path of Samekh. And so each one of those has a permutation of Yod He Vav He, that is a symbol of creation. And for this one, it is Vav Yod He He. Each one is slightly different. I don't remember if you remember, or when we did Mars, the Tower card would have been, oh, excuse me, no, it was when we did the Emperor, is when we first came apart, or when we first came upon the banners, and we started demonstrating what those were, and that one was actually Yod He Vav He, and this one is Vav Yod He He. So it's a method of creation that was represented in the Sefer Yetzirah, and in theory, that is how man helped co-create, or God created the universe, and that's a record of either the divine in creation, or how we create with the divine, depending on how you read those texts. Your mileage may vary on that aspect as well. The archangel is Advakiel. The angel ruling is Susiel, or Suriel. It's Suisel, actually. So, already said the legendary. The heaven of Asaya is the Quashef. And I just want to point out that that is the lower 3 paths on the tree of life. And that will be apparent during our path working, because the Quashef, or Kushith, is bow. And what do we have coming out of the center of that bow is an arrow. The arrow of Sagittarius, the alchemical glyph of Sagittarius, is simply an arrow. It's something that applies a lot of force in a very specified manner. It pierces things. It gets the point across. But nonetheless, the element that is represented is fire, but it is mutable fire. So it is a moldable fire. It is the kind of, not really the weakest, but it is the most easily swayed element of, or the representation of fire. After Leo's fixed in Aries cardinal, it's kind of, moving its way into the next element. It is ruled by Jupiter. Let's see. Vishnu is also one of the gods associated with this path, and that is the preserver, the great preserver. As opposed, there's also, we'll get to the gematria here in a minute, and I'll talk a little bit more about being the preserver. Let's see, the Egyptian is Neferes, Thelemic is Hermakes. Hermakes being another representation of Horus. Greek Artemis, Roman Diana, and Hindu, already said Vishnu. Okay. The magical formula on, and won't say a lot about that, but if you're on the path for very long, you'll learn about the solar deity represented with those letters there. Yin and Noon final. The magical power is transmutation, and that can be alchemical transmutation, which is definitely represented in the tarot card, which we'll get into that soon too. And in theory, it could be even the transmutation from one being to a different type, like shape shifting can be put into this category, whether that's a physical transmutation or a change of consciousness into another aspect of the consciousness. Rising on the planes, and specifically alchemical incineration. The mystical state is the vision of the universal peacock. And I'm not sure, I have not had that vision. I look forward to it. It sounds beautiful.
I'm peacock, gotta let me fly.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot what movie that was on, but gotta let me fly, boss. But anyways, moving on. The magical weapon is the arrow, kind of like we talked about that bow, the bottom three paths of Kuf, Shin, and Tav being at the very base of the tree, all leading from Melkuth. Shin going up to Hod, Kuf going up to Netzach, Tav going up to Yesod. So all three of them creating this bow. There's also thought of as a rainbow as well. But if you kind of think about where that is on the tree, where you've got, we're coming from the earth, kind of that solid state, that basically the physical plane. And we're pushing up, and we hit the airy sphere of Yesod, the moon, and kind of illusioning and kind of misty. But then you hit that hard water and that hard fire, and those two coming together, I just think of like a steam engine or something. We create electricity. When you hear of like coal-fired plants, a lot of times that coal is what it's doing is it's heating up water to turn a turbine. Basically, it's taking earth and it's taking fire and it's taking water and pushing those all together and pushing out an energy in order to spin a turbine, in order to get the point across once again. That push, that impetus, that moves forward. And so it takes a combination of those things in order to do that. And especially in order to do that repeatedly. The bonus about our working out within a system, the systems that are presented, they're presented in a way for us because they're legitimately proven systems, and they're legitimately a path to attainment if we follow a certain sets of guidelines, and if we do certain activities, we have a guaranteed result, an outcome that can be determined if we choose to follow this method. So, all right. So now the tarot. The art card or temperance Obviously there, it's a beautiful card. One of, I think, Crowley and Lady Frida Harris designs. It's one of the most beautiful and certainly one of the most busy. There's a lot going on in that card. You've got the vitriol around the side of the egg. You have Artemis being the one. You know it's Artemis because of the many-breasted symbolism there. It's also the Lover's card. It is the full process of the lovers growing up and becoming this new amazing being. You have the male and the female energy and actual fluids represented by the eagle and the lion. And you'll notice they've changed colors from what they were in the Lover's Key. That there's a lot of alchemical magic going on. Another thing to kind of notice is on the cauldron, there's a raven sitting on sitting on top of a skull. Another alchemical symbol, putrefaction, and the death card, specifically death in and of itself, not a real death. It's a change, a transmutation of a one state into another. You notice that it's got fire and water going into there, and it changes again once it gets to the eagle and the lion. And so that's a very magical, very alchemical glyph. That is a wand of fire in her hand, and the other is a cup of water. You'll notice the sun and the moon, the crowns have shifted. Everything has kind of interchanged now, and it is a new being, a new glyph altogether, and it's amazing. And it's a very potent reminder that's what this path and what this letter represents. It's taking two things that are completely different and joining them together, and then having that relationship. So the sun and the moon, fire and water, it's all of these things are being represented. And the joining of those and the outcome of those. So now back to the hierarchy or the color scales. In the king scale, it's blue. Queen scale is yellow. The prince scale is green, and princess scale is dark, vivid blue. And again, the reason I bring those up is if you ever want to create your own ritual and create your own design for things. You want to know how to bring that force down from Absolute down into Asya through the four worlds. And so maybe it'll come in handy someday. And it's also things that you'll want to memorize and that you'll want to kind of get stuck into the subconsciousness. All of these things are going to be continually used if you stay on this path. The esoteric title of this tarot key is the Daughter of the Reconcilers, Daughter of Reconcilers, the bringing forth of the life. Let's see, and then we talked a little bit about the title of, it's this from the Sefer Yetzirah. There's little one-line representations of each path. Westcott translated them, and which Crowley would have been familiar with. In his translation states, the 25th path is the intelligence of probation, or temptation, as is so called because it is the primary temptation by which the Creator trieth all righteous persons. And Aria Kaplan translation is testing the testing consciousness. It is called this because it is the original temptation through which God tests all his saints. So it's a little churchy sounding, but nonetheless, when I was talking earlier about having to walk a tightrope, when you're working up the tree, there's not a lot of room for error. There's going to be strong correction, and you get in or you don't, and then you try again, and you get in and you don't, you try again. So doesn't mean that you're like going to be punished because of failing tests or not being ready for some dweller on the threshold, which is a part of yourself that you need to deal with.
Can you explain the dweller of the threshold a little bit?
Well, it's a kind of an idea. There's a paraketh, which is the veil that is between the lower order, the first 4 sephiroths on the tree of life, and then going up above. So there's a veil. There's 2 veils. There's the paraketh, and then there's the abyss up above, going into the supernals. But you have to pass another one down at the bottom before you get up to Tifereth. This is just me personally, experience I had because I was testing that area going up the tree. I wasn't ready. There were certain things that I didn't deal with in my grades of 2-9, which was down in Yesod, which had to deal with some addictive natures I had, and that spiked really bad, and that really laughed and said, you're not going, and you're kicked back, and I had to take a little break for a while because I got a little, a interesting smackdown from the universe. So that's just kind of how it is, but it wasn't a failure. It wasn't it was that, no, you need to do some more work, and then you do some more work, and I'll attempt it again. That's where I was talking about. I'm looking forward to my direct communication with my holy guardian angel, or my HGA, the Adonai. A lot of different words for a level of consciousness that is associated with Tifereth. And it's not automatically granted. It takes work. It takes having your shit together in order to attempt and succeed, because it takes like the other representation of this card would be temperance on the Rider-Waite version, Golden Dawn, BOTA. The card is called temperance. And just from that word alone, tempering, that's when you take something, get it really hot, beat it with a hammer, and then squench it with something really cold. That's how you temper steel. So it is a process of strengthening, and it makes it stronger every time you do that. And so that's just part of it. It is part of doing what was talked about during the meditation that we did, or the poem that I read in the beginning, where you get rid of the dross, you get rid of the things you don't need through the fire and the alchemical work that
right
occurs.
Like the vitriol process, is that kind of like what is like the same idea of the taking of something and going through the alchemical processes and then coming out the other side. It's the same kind of like the tempering of the steel. You are putting yourself through that.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
Well, you used the key word, dross.
Yes.
Getting rid of the dross.
Yes.
Once you get rid of the dross, you're light enough to do everything.
Exactly.
That's how I consider the initiation degrees in the OTO. You begin at one point, and then at the end you have shed all the dross.
Yeah. I would agree. I haven't
made it through too far yet.
Doesn't matter.
I'm working on that, and I would agree, though,
It
that
doesn't matter, but the end result's the same.
yes,
Just know that you're shedding dross with each, with each moment, really. But I just wanted to pipe in.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
You know that it dross occurs in Libra also.
Thank you, Glenn.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. So we went over the testing. The vitriol means visit the interior of the earth by rectification. And rectification means to make right. There shall find the stone of the wise. That is slightly different, but it's what it breaks down. You'll notice that also on the garment, the bees and the serpents, the bee and the serpents are from the lover's key as well. They are just now more prevalent, and they are slightly different as well. So let's see. Next. Okay. Oh, and it also equals 726. Some interesting things to look up as well. And speaking of gematria, the value spelled in full for Samekh is Samekh Mem Kopf. It would equal 600 if you used the Mem final. Otherwise, it would be 120. Or if you were just using simple gematria, the letter Samekh equals 60. Some interesting things about 120. Kind of 120 relates to the Trinity. There's a lot of, it's a fairly widely used number in, say, the Golden Dawn tradition. The mystic, I'm going to just list a few of these. Kessel, the fool. Kenan is another, was the 120. Morph, the Memphis of Egypt. Phoenix, the goetic demon. Sas, moth. Sol is shadow or shelter. So play with the numbers, look at the numbers, and see how they all tie together and how they tie to Samekh and that idea of being tested, or that idea of probation or trial. Another word that equals 600. 600 happened to be the number of years Noah lived, supposedly. The white marble is Sheesh. Shin Hey, I believe, or that wouldn't make sense. But nonetheless, it's Sheesh as a white marble. That equals 600. The mystic number associated with this is 325. Okay, and then also go back one real quick. And then if you look at the tarot keys and try to understand what is being said by looking through the keys, you've got your holy guardian angel, you've got Mem, the water, and then you've got Jupiter. So Jupiter actually rules Sagittarius, so that's kind of cool that right off the bat. Mem being the central point, one of the ideas associated with the Hanged Man is reversal, and it's a reversal in mind, kind of turning what we think the way things are, and finding out it's not really that way. And that's a good thing. Learning the way, a new way to look at things can be very eye-opening and very transformative or transmutative. We have a lot of transmutation going on. You've got and then you have fortune, the wheel of fortune in the end is representative of Jupiter, and you've got cycles, and you've got the pairs of opposites all through that. and we've spoken already about the art card so much that that being demonstrating all of those opposites in and of itself as well. And then you have them all working together at the end. So highly recommend spending some time understanding your Hebrew words that way, breaking it down with the tarot, and just sitting and absorbing little revelations you get through meditation. So, all right, I think that wraps up our first part of the class, the minutia part, all of the correspondences. So tonight we're going to do banishing first, and then we're going to go ahead and do our path working on the 25th Path of Samekh. And today I thought we could actually continue on with the class that was presented last week on the pentagram rituals, but we didn't actually do one of the rituals. So I was going to walk us through doing that. And so I was going to just kind of verbalize everything that I'm either visualizing and or making motions. So if you want to turn off your video or keep it on, or join me or don't join me, whatever your will may be to do today, do that. But this is for you as far as learning to utilize this. It's a potent ceremony that we begin with and end with. So the more you do it, the better you get at it. And I know some people don't have a lot of experience, so we're going to walk through this today. So if anybody wants to take a quick drink, go to the bathroom, or anything like that, we can wait a couple of minutes, or we can just get started on that. So if I don't hear any,
Did you say this?
buddy, I did not. If I don't hear from anyone, then we'll just get started. The one thing that at some point in the path working, you'll be asked to show a symbol, and that symbol is going to be a golden arrow. So you can either think of that as like a talisman with a golden arrow on it, or you can visualize a golden arrow in your hand and present it when asked.
Okay. Do you want to do the?
Okay.
I'll take your seat.
So first, just kind of get yourself relaxed and take a deep breath. Feel the ground beneath your feet. And visualize a black expanse above you, and you being the only point in the darkness. Seeing a brilliant white light above your head. Your holy guardian angel, your higher self, God, whatever terminology makes you yearn to union. Acknowledge that energy and reach up into that and bring it down and touch the forehead and bring that light consciously into your mind, into your body, and vibrate the word Ata, which means thou. Oto. And allowing that light to descend down the middle pillar, down to your feet, illuminating the feet in a ball of light, and let that feeling grow and pulsate and feel grounded and stable. Acknowledge that feeling and vibrate Melku, which is the kingdom. Melku. Now coming back up the middle pillar and out to the right shoulder. Think of a time where you felt powerful, where you felt strong in life, strong in your stance on something. Feel that power and vibrate Vegebura. Vegebura. Now bring that light across to your left shoulder, and one where you felt great compassion, great love, great glory for somebody else, for yourself, whatever the case may be. Touching your left shoulder, vibrate Vegelula. Vegelula. Now seeing you light up the spheres of the tree of life within your own aura, within your own field of experience. Bring your hands together and vibrate Leolam Amen, which means forever and ever. Amen. Leolam Amen. Now, again, see an empty black expanse in front of you. And from your left hip, begin to draw a pentagram from your left hip up to the top of your head, down to your right hip, up towards your left shoulder, and across to your right. Back down to your left hip in bright, vivid blue. Blue flames like a gas flame. And if you can visualize Hebrew, visualize while vibrating Yod He Vav He, which I pronounce Yod He Wah He when vibrated. If you can see the Hebrew letters inside of it, even more so. So Yod He Wah He. Now draw that around to the south in a blue flame, and draw another pentagram as big as your body, and charge it with Adonai. Adonai. Bringing that around now to the west. Another pentagram as big as you can. Now you're going to vibrate A, hey, a. Hey, hey. Now in the north. Vibrate Ata Gebor Leolam Adonai, or Agla, if that is your will. Ata Gebor Leolam Adonai. Now complete and close the circle up in the blue flame. Take a moment to appreciate this. The 4 pentagrams blazing in the corners. And now before you, visualize the color yellow and feel the element of air flowing through you. Really focus on that element. If you can visualize Raphael, all better. If not, just focus on the color yellow and the element of air. Before me, Raphael. Now behind it, visualize Gabriel, or the color blue and the element of water. Feel the water tickling at your feet, the nape of your neck, cleansing you and purifying you, and vibrate Gabriel. Behind me, Gabriel. Now at your right hand is Mikhail, fire and red. At my right hand, Mikhail. Now at our left hand, we have Audeo, the archangel of earth, citrine, olive, and russet colors, a cornucopia, a basket of fruit, of vegetables. Feel that solidity, that stability, and vibrate. Audeo. At my left hand, Audeo. Before me flames the pentagram, and within me shines the six-rayed star. Now reaching up into that highest aspect of Kether, bringing that down into our bodies, that body of light. Oto. This time we're going to include Iwas at the heart. Iwas. Down to the feet again, Melkuth. Melkuth. Back up to the center and out to the right shoulder. Powerful Vegebura. Vegebura. Now out to the left shoulder. Mercy, love, compassion, the glory. Vegedula. Vegedula. Forever and ever, Leolam Amen. Leolam Amen. So now allow yourself to kind of appreciate that space we've just cleared. We both cleared and filled at the same time. Our holy guardian angels are with us and the archangels are with us. Spend a few minutes on your breath. Take in a deep breath and let it out with like a sigh. Letting all the day's concern leave your physical form. The tension of the day, let it fade away with each breath. One more deep breath with a sigh. Allow the breath to become rhythmical. Breathe in to a count of 4. Hold the breath for a count of 4. Exhale to a count of 4. Stay empty for a count of 4. Inhale for a count of 4. Hold for a count of 4. Exhale for a count of 4. Stay empty for a count of 4. Inhale for a count of 4. Hold for a count of 4. Exhale for a count of 4. Stay empty for a count of 4. Inhale for a count of 4. Hold for a count of 4. Exhale for a count of 4. Stay empty for a count of 4. Inhale for a count of 4. Hold for a count of 4. Exhale for a count of 4. Stay empty for a count of 4. Now let the focus of the counting fade away. Keep your consciousness on your breath, but do your best not to control it anymore. Simply watch the breath go in and acknowledge the breath going out. Watch the breath go in and acknowledge the breath going out. Now do this on your own for a minute, focusing only on your breath. If your mind wanders, bring it back to the breath. With your eyes closed, you begin to formulate the astral temple of Malkuth. As the journey begins, the 10-sided chamber of Malkuth appears as before. Without hesitation, you intone the names of force and of beings who abide within this temple. Adonai Hararetz, Son of Ham, Hashim. Sandalphon appears, and you exchange the sign of the enter. She gives the sign of silence. She inquires about your reason for entering her domain, and you hold up the symbol of the golden arrow. The archangel leads you quickly through the portal of Tau, in the east of the temple, up the 32nd path of to the ethereal temple of Yesod. Leaving Sandalphon, you enter the astral temple with the sign of the enter. Once inside, you give the sign of silence. 9 violet walls surround you. On the floor is the figure of the Enengel, and in the ceiling above are the phases of the moon. Statues of the four cherubim stand guard over the silver altar in the center of the room. You call out the names of power and the beings who are in this temple. Shora Chai, Gabriel, Caroline. The Archangel Gabriel formulates in the jasmine mist and addresses you. You have entered the realm of Maya and the treasure house of images. By what symbol dost thou enter herein? She asks. By the symbol of the arrow. You hold up the implement. Gabriel leads you to the center altar where you don the violet astral sandals in preparation for your journey. She takes you to a blue archway in the east of the temple. On the keystone of the arch is the letter Samekh in brilliant white. Within the archway is a veil on which is depicted the tarot card of temperance. Gabriel traces the sigil of Sagittarius and parts the veil, exposing the door carved from Jacinth. Holding up the arrow, you trace the letter Samekh on the door. The door opens and you commence your journey on the 25th path. The path leads out to an open pasture. It is nighttime and the path is visible only because of the illumination provided by the full moon above. The stars are also visible as you begin to walk up the path. The voice of Gabriel echoes within your mind as she leaves you with these final words. Advance by the straight and narrow path of Sagittarius, like the arrow from the center of Quesheth, the bow. And as this path lieth between those of Scorpio, death, and Capricornus, the devil, so had Jesus to pass through the wilderness tempted by Satan. Above you is the constellation of Sagittarius. You are reminded of the story of Chiron, the centaur, half man, half beast. Chiron was slain by Heracles with a poisoned arrow. In a great pain from this incurable wound, Chiron begged Zeus to deprive him of immortality and end his suffering. The father of the gods granted his request and placed him among the stars. As you gaze at the figure of the centaur outlined in the stars, you envision the mighty Chiron, drawing back his bow and firing an arrow which darts across the eastern sky like a comet. You continue up the moonlit path. At length, you come to a peculiar sight directly in the road ahead. The figure of a sleeping man lies sleeping on a pile of rocks under the stars. A little beyond that is a ladder set firmly into the road. Its summit is lost in the clouds. Magnificent winged figures clothed in dazzling white garments travel up and down the ladder between heaven and earth. The angels pass each other by the graceful rhythm. You realize that the sleeping figure is the Hebrew patriarch, Jacob, and the place you have come to is called Beth El, or House of God. For a moment, the angelic procession between heaven and earth subsides. Taking this as a sign, you walk past the sleeping patriarch and begin to scale the ladder. As you ascend, you hear the voice that says, "Behold, I am with you wherever you go, and I will never leave you." Every step takes you higher into the clouds and brings you closer to a light above you. As you climb higher and higher, the atmosphere around you increases in brightness. You feel yourself beginning to cast off your mundane concerns, all cares, worries, and attachments to the world below. You even feel yourself beginning to shed portions of your own outer personality, certain aspects of the intellect, the emotions, and especially the ego. These drop away like so many discarded clothes. All things pertaining to sense fall back to the physical realm. You press onward and upward, fully focused on the spiritual path before you. As you reach the top of the ladder, the light is so brilliant that you cannot see anything. You are absorbed by the serenity of the light. Then, gradually, the light becomes less brilliant. It turns to gray and is slowly replaced by a darkness that is every bit as blinding. Eventually, your eyes adapt to the darkness, and you find yourself in the desolate landscape beneath a starless night sky. The air of the desert at night is still and cool. Ahead in the distance, you see the light of a campfire against the dark horizon. It draws you toward it like a moth. As you approach, you see a man in his 30s sitting cross-legged by a small campfire in the center of a circle that has been drawn into the sand. The man is dressed in simple clothes and has long brown hair and a short beard. But his eyes are what strike you the most. He has the kindest yet saddest eyes you've ever seen. He holds out his hand in a greeting and bids you to enter his circle. Entering the circle, he rises with a bowl of water. The man begins to anoint you, your head, your hands, and your feet. Except ye be born of water and spirit, he says. You close your eyes for a moment, reveling in the feeling of infinite and unconditional love, flowing over you in waves. You open your eyes and realize that the man before you is Adonai. Yaheshua, the Christos, the Anointed One. He offers you a seat on a simple rug and returns to his seat on the other side of the fire. Although you didn't notice his aura before, you are now aware of a slight golden glory that surrounds him. Above his head, you notice what seems to be a faint image of a dove. Yaheshua explains that he has been sent to this place to be tested by the accuser, the prosecuting angel of God, heavenly court. In preparation for this, he has fasted for a month. His discipline, his focus, and his inner strength have made him ready for a test. As if on cue, the figure of the accuser rises up from the shadows on the outer rim of the circle. You are surprised to see that the angel looks exactly like the man seated across from you. They could almost be twins, but the accuser's eyes are less compassionate. His aura is slightly darker. The accuser speaks. "Let us begin," he says. "So mote it be," Adonai says. The accuser walks slowly around the circumference of the circle, testing its strength. With a wave of his arm, the image of a banquet table filled with food appears just beyond the edge of the circle. He turns his attention to Yeshua and speaks with an empathetic voice. I know you're hungry. You've fasted for many weeks. You've made your point. Enough is enough. He waves his arm again, and the apparition of the banquet table vanishes. The accuser picks up a rock and says, if you are really the Son of God, tell this stone to turn into bread. Eat and sustain your life. Yeshua answers, it is written that no one lives by bread alone, but by the word of God. The scene before you vanishes. You two, our companions, are now standing on a high mountaintop overlooking the roof of the world. The cold wind blows your hair and stings the skin of your face. The accuser waves his hand, and all the great cities of the world appear to surround the base of the mountain. The accuser speaks to Adonai. These earthly kingdoms are mine to give. I will gladly give you all these riches they contain if you will venerate me. You could use your power and popularity to lead the Jewish nation in a noble rebellion against the Romans. You could establish a magnificent empire where you would be crowned as the new emperor to rule the people. It would be glorious and noble. Yeshua sighs and shakes his head and replies, it is written, you shall reverence only the Lord your God. I will create no earthly institution. The scene changes again, and you find yourself along with the two companions standing on the highest point of the great temple of Solomon, overlooking the city of Jerusalem. It is morning, and below you, the people of the city are beginning to go about their business. The accuser takes Adonai by the arm and points to the busy street below. If you're really the Son of God, he says, how easy it would be to demonstrate your divine power and your miraculous abilities. Why not jump off this rooftop? It is written that he will command his angels to protect you. They will not let harm come to you. With all of this power, you could easily establish your own spiritual kingdom here on earth. Yeshua again shakes his head and answers, it is written that you shall not put the Lord your God to test. I will not establish an earthly kingdom that would be divorced from the light of God. I will not use divine power in such a cavalier manner. I am sworn to the light. I will not become a tool of darkness. The accuser has failed in his endeavor to tempt Yeshua. The accuser angel nods in acceptance and defeat and vanishes. Before he did, you watched his eyes change as the one in front of you you realize he is one and the same. Both the accuser and the Lord. The guide and the confuser. And he begins to speak. You have chosen to walk a very difficult path, he tells, but it can be a fruitful one. A good tree does not bear rotten fruit, and a rotten tree does not bear good fruit. Are figs gathered from thorns or grapes from thistles? Good fruit. Every tree is known by its fruits. Good will produce good, and evil will produce evil. For the mouth that speaks from a full heart. Adonai smiles. I am with you. Suddenly raises his hands and claps. The scene changes in a flash of light and you find yourself in the desert again, standing in the circle by the campfire. This time you are alone. There's no sign of either the accuser or Adonai. Spend a moment in the desert and appreciate that silence. Be open to a symbol, open to guidance. As you stand gazing out into the darkness of the desert night, you feel something well up inside you. Whatever it is, it projects itself outside of your body and outside of the circle. You watch as the figure approaches the circle. As it reaches the circle, you realize that you are facing a being who looks exactly like you. This is your accuser, a reflection of yourself. The appearance of this being startles you, and you hold up the path symbol of the golden arrow. In the divine name of Elohim, and in the permutation of the holy name, Yor, and in the power of the Christos, leave this place. Your accuser laughs. You can't banish what is simply a reflection of yourself. I am a part of you. You have to deal with me before you can get rid of me. The accuser has a golden arrow similar to your own. He or she throws it at you, and it hits you full in the thigh. You drop to the ground in pain, gripping your leg. Suddenly, the wind picks up. A swift-moving thunderstorm has crept up in the desert like a thief. The rain begins to come down in sheets. Soon you are drenched to the bone. Shivering in the desert night, you are wet, cold, weak, and in pain. For the first time in all your journeys on the tree, you begin to doubt your own abilities. And for the first time, a pathworking has become a true ordeal for you. Your accuser crouches down to speak to you. You've had enough of this, haven't you? You've gotten pretty far up the tree, farther than most, but you must know it's time to stop now. You're through with pathworkings. You have far too many faults to be considered a sturdy vehicle for the divine spirit. For you don't even know your will. You've hurt too many people. You have far too much pride and ego, too many petty wants and desires, too many attachments. You have neither the power nor the purity of Adonai. Give up this spiritual quest. You're just not cut out for it. What has brought you to this point? Why have you traveled this far? Knowledge. You have found knowledge back in Hode. Faith, hope, and the love of God brought you to this place. What good are these props to you now? What good is your faith if you can't use it to prove a spiritual truth? What is hope except a naive desire for wish fulfillment? What has your love of God brought you except an arrow in the thigh in the God-forsaken place? Leave now and you will be rewarded with a very comfortable secular life. Lying flat on your back with the rain hitting you in the face and the blood from your wound slowly draining into the water. Pulling the arrow out of your leg, you clutch it against your chest. You have no magic power strong enough to defeat your accuser. An opponent who knows your weakness better than you. All you have is your spiritual aspiration and the props that sustain you on this path. All you have is the knowledge of your true will. The desire to do only that will. To know your will. To be your will. You hear a voice. Perhaps again it's Gabriel. Faith voids in darkness the intellect of all the human knowledge, says the voice. And by so doing, prepares it for the union with the divine wisdom. Hope empties and alienates the memory from all creature possessions and sets it upon what it hopes to enjoy in the future. And this is why hope alone can be absolutely disposed the memory, because of the vacuum it causes therein to be united with the divine. In the same way, the love for God and void and empty affections and appetites of whatever is not God. And so this virtue prepares this faculty and unites with the one through love. The voice and its message has a calming effect on you. Closing your eyes, you shut everything out of your mind and contemplate the purity and perfection of the divine. With your whole heart and mind focused on the highest divine truth you believe in, you begin to recite following prayer. I am the resurrection and the life. Whosoever believeth in me, through he were dead, yet shall he live. And whoever liveth and believeth in me shall never die. I am the first and I am the last. I am that liveth and was dead. And behold, I am able, alive forevermore, and hold the keys of both hell and death. For I know that I am the Redeemer, liveth that he shall stand at the latter day upon the earth. And sit in silence and meditation for a moment. I am the preparer of the pathway, the rescuer unto the light. I am the reconciler with the ineffable, the dweller of the invisible. Let the white brilliance of the divine spirit descend. You feel a warmth spreading through your veins as a brilliant light falls on your body. It evaporates the chill caused by rain. You are not even aware of the rain anymore, but you are aware that your thigh no longer gives you pain. Reaching down, you feel the wound healing itself. Soon it is completely gone. The storm clouds begin to disperse in the east. The sun is just beginning to emerge. Peeking out between the distant mountaintops, dawn is coming. You pull yourself to your feet, your strength returning, picking up a flaming branch from the campfire in one hand and a bowl of water in the other. You regain your spiritual balance. Your accuser stands just outside the circle. Your offer is duly noted. You tell your dark twin, but I am going to continue on my spiritual quest up the tree. Your accuser nods and says nothing, but fades back into the rapidly disappearing shadows of the night. The sun breaks over the eastern mountaintops. It has been a long, dark night, but that night is over. And it is time to go home. You leave the circle and descend Jacob's ladder. Soon you are back in the temple of Yesod. Gabriel welcomes you as you return the astral sandals to the foot of the silver altar. She guides you back to the temple of Melkuth and leaves you with Sandalphon, who closes the portal of Tav behind you. You take a moment to reflect on your experience. Finally, you bid Sandalphon farewell, saluting her with the sign of the Enterer. She answers with the sign of silence. And we'll end with a quick banishing, which is just 2 words, the apopantos kakadaimenos, short and effective method of banishing. So begin with the sign of silence, finger touching the lips. Draw in the air deep and feel that energy begin at the bottom of your feet and well up inside of you, and then just come out of your mouth like a force of nature, and vibrate, or not vibrate, but express the words apopantos kakadaimenos. Apopantos kakadaimenos.
Apopantos kakadaimenos.
So that was the 25th path of Samekh.
I'm going to do
Yeah, you can keep it going for a few minutes. So does anybody feel like sharing about anything about their experience with that path? Nobody has to, but if you'd like to share, or if you had any symbols presented, or something unique experience that you don't mind sharing with the group, feel free to. No pressure, of course. If not, then we'll just stop the recording and get to chatting. All right. I think we're going to go ahead and stop the recording, but we'll stick around to talk about it for a minute.
Did I do something? No, I didn't. Sorry.